Okay, everyone, welcome back to another review on my movie channel. I wasn't going to do a review until way later tonight. It's only almost 10 o'clock, but I decided to, and it is on a movie I do not have on DVD yet. I want to get on DVD when it goes down. It's a little too high for me. It is Snow White and the Huntsman. It came out last year, last summer, and it stars Kristen Stewart as Snow White, Charlize Theron as Queen Ravenna, the evil queen, Chris Hemsworth as the Huntsman, and Sam, I'm not sure I can't remember his last name, so he plays the prince, So, pretty much what it is about, it's pretty much the classic Snow White tale, just, darker and more real. It's about, of course, Snow White's a little girl, and her parents are king and queen, and they rule the kingdom, and they live in a peaceful kingdom. And her mother is sick, and eventually her mother dies, of course, because in the Snow White story, the mother dies, the good queen dies, and the king kind of goes. He gets really lonely, and he goes into battle, and while he's like fighting these like dark warriors or whatever, after then he finds a prisoner that's held captive, and guess who it is? It is Ravenna, the future evil queen, and he thinks she is so beautiful that he doesn't even know anything about her, and he just says, I'm gonna marry her and make her my new queen. My daughter needs, pretty much a mom. And there's a little scene where Snow White and, Ravenna talk, and Snow White says, you're so pretty, or whatever, and, Ravenna kind of lies and says, oh no, you're the pretty one, which she is. They're both, in Ravenna's eyes. And then pretty much she marries the king, and on their wedding night she actually kills the king. Typical evil queen. She stabs him in the heart, of course, and pretty much she takes over that whole kingdom that night. Well, Snow White grows up, and of course she's being played by Kristen Stewart, and she's been locked away. And pretty much, the queen is pretty much Ravenna, the queen, sucks souls out of women to be beautiful. And this is not my favorite version of Snow White and the Queen. I will get to that in a minute. And pretty much she, the mirror, she does the magic mirror on the wall thing, magic mirror on the wall. But it's just, and it comes out, like, kind of as a, person, and it comes out, but it's her illusion. It's not really there, because her brother, she has a brother, he sees her talking to this, like, mirror, thing, and it's not really there. It's only her illusion that it's talking back to her. And pretty much the mirror tells her that Snow White is gonna be queen, and Snow White's prettier than you, pretty much. So pretty much right there on the spot, the queen calls her brother Finn, I think his name is. I didn't really like him. He's kind of, the evil queen never had a brother, except in one other movie, and that's a sequel to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but it wasn't made by Disney, so. But, that's another review. But pretty much he says, bring me the king's daughter, Snow White, because she's going to kill her right there, cut out her heart. And pretty much Snow White does the right thing. She hears him coming, she takes a nail and hides under her bed, and she's laying there, and she scratches him, the brother, in the eye, like right here, and she escapes. And, she runs into the horse, and pretty much goes into the dark forest. Now, I really like this scene because it reminded me of the Disney version, except darker, of course. You know, Snow White's running through the woods, all these illusions are coming, you know, she's seeing all these different things, you know. And then, of course, the Queen looks for a Huntsman. This is where Chris Hemsworth's character comes in. And I think his name is Eric, I'm not sure, I just know him as the Huntsman, but I read on, like, Wikipedia, his name's Eric, but his name, he's the Huntsman to me. And I like what they did with him, you know, she pretty much, and this scene also reminded me of the Disney scene, because when she summons the Huntsman, she calls for him, and she says, find me this person, and he, like, no way, I've been in those woods, I'm not going back. And I'll give you back the one thing you want most, and that's his wife, that died, and I guess the Queen had something to do with that. I'm not sure. And, so he says whatever, and pretty much, long story short, he goes with the Queen's brother and hunts Snow White. He finds Snow White, then, you know, the brother, you know, says, okay, hand her over, and he betrays him, of course, the Huntsman does, and pretty much, Snow White and the Huntsman become friends. You know, Snow White is traveling to the prince's, kingdom, which, when Snow White and the prince were little kids, they knew each other as little kids, and the night the Queen took over, Ravenna took over, the castle, the Prince William is his name, he had to leave her, you know, to pretty much die. And so, for all these years, the prince has been looking for her, I guess. And when he finds out that she is alive, he continues to look for her. So, he kind of teams up with the Evil Queen's brother, and, you know, and eventually they, so yeah, so the Seven Dwarfs, they don't come until later in the movie, which I'll get to them in just 1 minute. So they arrive, they reach out of the border of the Dark Woods, and they come across this town, or this village of women that are scarred, because, you know, the Queen, she wants beauties, but if they're scarred and ugly, she won't want them because they're not pretty. So they stay there for a night, but during the night, guess who finds them? The brother of the Evil Queen, and pretty much kills every woman in the town except the two main ones, the mom and daughter. And so pretty much after this they meet the Seven Dwarfs. And the Seven Dwarfs are no happy, sneezy, bashful, grumpy, dopey. They are mean. They hang up Snow White and Huntsman. They punch the Huntsman in the face. They're about to kill Snow White. And of course they, you know, realize that Snow White's the princess of this kingdom and pretty much want to help her. And, you know, a few happy things. They take Snow White to the pretty much the enchanted forest, where happy things happen and stuff. And, you know, and of course there's a little scene, you know, campfire scene with her, the Huntsman, and all the Seven Dwarfs. When Snow White wakes up, she, like, sees this, like, deer with all these antlers, and I guess no one's ever seen that, and of course her being the princess. So she's looking at it, but again, guess who shows up? Finn, the Evil Queen's brother. He kills the, you know, rare animal and chases down Snow White. Then finally him and the Huntsman fight, and the Huntsman and him are fighting. The Huntsman is getting beat up pretty bad, but then the Huntsman pushes the brother onto, like, this tree limb, and it's, like, sticking out like sharp spikes, and kills the brother. And the Ravenna, the Evil Queen, freaks out. She, like, loses power or whatever. She begins to turn old, and, you know, so yeah, and then it's pretty much, and one of the dwarfs die, which is a little strange because none of the Seven Dwarfs never die. So yeah, and so they have a funeral for him. It's the redhead, and they continue they run into the prince. The prince finds Snow White, and they continue. They go to the castle, the prince's castle. So the next scene is pretty much they are camping out in a forest, and it's snowing. And of course, I'm not sure if it's night or more. I think it's really early in the morning. Snow White's just walking in the woods. You know what Snow White does best. She's just walking in. Guess who she finds? Well, guess who follows her? William. And they're just talking, and he takes out an apple. And, you know, they're saying, I guess they used to play some kind of game. And, yeah, and so, yeah, and they're talking, then all of a sudden, Snow kisses him, and, yeah, so she says, she eats the apple, and guess who it is? Ravenna disguised herself as William, and she ate the poison apple. That's where so pretty much Snow White is like being poisoned, and, you know, Ravenna is this old hag pretty much. She's still in her like queen outfit and stuff, but her face is like old, and she's about to cut Snow White's heart out, and the Huntsman and William find out that something's wrong, and pretty much they take out their swords, and they're about to like take down Ravenna, but she turns in birds. She just turns in birds or whatever. And so pretty much, yeah, so Snow White's eating the apple. They think she's dead, so they take her back to the castle. There is one really sad scene that Eric, the huntsman, has with Snow White because he thinks she's dead, and he tells her about her wife, you know, how he reminded her of his wife and stuff. And pretty much he kisses Snow White. Now, back in the woods, William the Prince tried to kiss Snow White, but true love's first kiss did not work on her. It just didn't work. So there's a little twist. When the huntsman kissed Snow White, she woke up. Now, I'm guessing since she woke up, she was in love with him, because I could see it's a twist, you know, because she spent a lot of time with him so far in this village on journey, more than the prince, even though they didn't, they knew each other as friends. She wasn't really in love with the prince, I guess. So pretty much Snow White wakes up, she gives this big speech about taking down the queen, and I didn't really like the end of the movie, because they ride to the queen's castle, but they put Snow White in battle armor. And I get, you know, they're trying to make Snow White a strong warrior, you know, they didn't want this Snow White anymore. I love the Snow White, the Disney Snow White. It's the best in my opinion. No one can be better than this version. I didn't like it. I could get it because in Once Upon a Time they give Snow White, you know, a bow, arrow, sword, but she's not in armor. I didn't like her in like man's armor. It's just my opinion. That does not fit the character of Snow White. So they're fighting. Snow White pretty much goes up and confronts the queen and fights her. And they're fighting and stuff, and the queen's of course powerful. She has all these powers. And back in the dark woods, the huntsman taught Snow White how to block. So the queen's coming at her, and to stab her, and guess what? Snow White stabs the queen, and the queen dies. And it's a little sad moment, you know. Snow White kind of tears for her because she dies and turns into like old again, and she dies. So the next scene is pretty much Snow White is crowned queen. But I thought what was interesting, you know, you would think, okay, Snow White's gonna live happily ever after. She's gonna marry Eric or the huntsman, and they're gonna be king and queen. She did not marry. She was not with anyone. She was crowned queen by herself. So that was a twist, and the movie ends right there. So I hear they're coming out with a sequel. But I hear that's mostly gonna be based on the Huntsman. So I'm excited about that. It's an okay movie. I prefer, of course, the Disney characters over anything. But I actually prefer the Once Upon a Time Evil Queen, Snow White, over them. That's just my opinion, though. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out if you have not seen it. Kristen Stewart was okay. not my favorite. Charlize Theron was okay too, so that's my review. Bye.